ground shakes, buildings fall. A powerful earthquake hits central Mexico. The death toll is rising as the search goes on for victims. Also tonight, potentially catastrophic Hurricane Maria takes aim at the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico.
This is the most serious storm in modern history in Puerto Rico.
At the UN, President Trump threatens to destroy North Korea and its dictator.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
And is this the answer to school shootings? Teachers carrying guns.
Do you have the mindset to actually shoot a shooter, and what if it's one of your students?
This is the CBS Evening News.
And this is our Western edition. Good evening, I'm Anthony Mason. A disaster is unfolding south of the border. A powerful magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck central Mexico today, southeast of Mexico City. Panicked residents poured into the streets as buildings crumbled. Many others were trapped in the rubble. The death toll quickly reached triple digits, and the frantic search goes on for lives that can be saved. We begin our coverage with Adrian Bard in Mexico.
It began to shake at 1:14 and felt like it would never stop. This one seemed like the big one. We lost all communication, no cell phone, no landline, no internet, no electricity. In other Mexico City neighborhoods, at least 24 buildings caved in, crashing to the ground while people on the streets looked on and ran. The roofs of 2 elementary schools caved in. Children are still trapped inside. Rescue workers and ordinary citizens are trying to remove the rubble. Many people are injured here, and even more still feeling panicked. Everywhere there are people on the streets and small piles of concrete and debris. This quake was not as powerful as the one that hit exactly 32 years ago today, killing 10,000 people, but this time the epicenter was much closer.
We are getting word, Anthony, that there are dozens of children trapped in a school which collapsed. There are rescue workers there and just ordinary people, neighbors coming out on the street digging. We're just getting the full picture here. We don't know the extent of the damage, but as I walk down Mexico's main avenue tonight, Reforma Avenue, I can tell you there are thousands of people out on the street gazing up at cracked buildings.
Adrian Bard in Mexico City. Thank you, Adrian. A newscaster in Mexico was on the air when the earthquake hit. When the studio started shaking, he left quickly in search of a safe place. The station's cameras caught what was happening outside. And back in the studio, heavy lights shook wildly, a good reason not to be under them. Dr. Lucy Jones is a renowned seismologist who spent years with the U.S. Geological Survey. Dr. Jones, this was a smaller quake than the one that hit Mexico earlier in the month, but it appears to be doing significantly more damage.
This earthquake, it's smaller, but it's closer to many more people. So where the 8.2 was offshore and at a depth of 40 miles down, this is only 80 miles from Mexico City and about 30 miles down and with a lot of people nearby. Proximity makes a big difference.
I noticed on Twitter that you said that part of the problem here is that Mexico City has what you call bad soil, that the soil in Mexico amplifies the shaking. What do you mean?
Well, that's right. Well, so Mexico City is built on a dry lake bed. So there was a lake there, it dried out, it left behind these sediments that are very loose. And so when the seismic waves come through them, the loose soil slows them down, but they still have all that energy, so they have to get bigger to carry that loose soil. Here in downtown Los Angeles, we have about a factor of 5 amplification because of soils. In Mexico City, it's over a factor of 100. So that they have had huge damage even from earthquakes that are hundreds of miles away. This one is much closer than the '85 earthquake that did so much damage.
Dr. Lucy Jones, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
A potentially catastrophic hurricane is heading for the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Maria is a Category 5 with maximum sustained winds of 165 miles an hour. Some Caribbean islands in its path, including Tortola, were ravaged 2 weeks ago by Irma. Roofs there were torn off and at least 5 killed. Now they're defenseless as Maria takes aim. David Begnaud is in San Juan tonight.
Just 2 weeks after Hurricane Irma sideswiped the island, the governor walked through the streets today making sure no one was taking any chances. Please let us help you, Ricardo Roseo told this family. Irma knocked out power here in Guaynabo and to 70% of the rest of the island, including the home of 68-year-old Hector Peña Gomez. He's bedridden with Parkinson's disease. We're going to do our best to take you to a safe place, the governor told him. The fear here is fueled by Maria's wallop of Dominica and Guadalupe just before midnight, causing severe flooding and leaving at least 1 person dead. Tortola is bracing for the worst. Where to take shelter on an island where almost every building was damaged and the roofs ripped off? Storm debris from Irma could be turned into potential lethal missiles as Maria's winds move in. In Puerto Rico, food is being rationed. There are lines to buy fuel and to get into shelters.
Are you going to get out?
Sí.
Wainika Valderrama is headed for shelter after her generator broke. Her daughter cannot sleep in the insufferable heat as a monster hurricane approaches.
Most places are boarded up tonight as the wind is picking up. You know, the last time a Category 5 hurricane made landfall here was 90 years ago. Maria is expected to hit tomorrow morning early. Anthony?
David Begnaud in San Juan, thanks. Eric Fisher is chief meteorologist at our CBS Boston station WBZ, and he has the latest.
Well, Hurricane Maria has a very tight core, meaning those winds, the most destructive ones, are right around the eye, but that eye bearing down on St. Croix as well as Puerto Rico as we head into early on Wednesday morning, just before daylight, crossing the island as a catastrophic hurricane. After that, it tracks off to the north and west, just to the east of the Turks and Caicos, and then finds a spot off the eastern seaboard as we head into the end of the weekend.
Eric, thanks.